AGI technology creativity trend. The world will look very different in 2050 because technology will have changed so much. For example, by 2050, the world may have its first artificial general intelligence. Official projects have already been started by big tech companies to make the world's first artificial general intelligence. There are billions of dollars put into these projects, and a lot of people work on them full-time. It could take anywhere from 10 to 20 years to finish these very complicated projects. Scientists and engineers are trying to figure out how to model things like creativity that are done on purpose. The most important thing right now is to have self-aware AI that organizations can use to solve problems that were thought to be impossible before. Another way to use this AI is to put copies of it in advanced humanoid robots that can handle a wide range of real-world situations. Only a small part of the world's people disagree with this, and there is a constant backlash on the internet. But that was to be expected. It is expected that this change will lead to technologies. But it leaves the door open for super smart AI to be made by the end of the century, and there is no real limit to how far it can go. This AI can get so smart that it might be smarter than all of the people who have ever lived on Earth. Soon after that, it could become 1 trillion times smarter than that. But before we start our video, it would mean a lot to us if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and press the bell icon. Let's get started. 1. Human-like robots. Human-like robots are emerging in 2050. Robots can learn how to work in the real world. Older robots could only move in fixed ways, but this new generation is more dexterous and flexible. They are able to adapt to new situations and solve problems that change over time. The most advanced robots are only in the homes of the rich and famous, and in government, business, and research institutions. In addition to being smart, these more advanced robots look very much like real people. These robots almost look and act like real people because they get constant emotional feedback from their users and use techniques like motion capture and generative adversarial networks. As more information is given to these robots, their body language and movements become more natural. 3D printed bones and new materials for skin and muscles that are flexible have been made. Also, less advanced models are now pretty common. People in the upper middle income range like them, and they cost about the same as a second car or another big purchase. Tasks include cleaning, cooking, and organizing the house, as well as taking care of children and older family members. 2. Smart cities. In the year 2050, some places are starting to build smart cities. Smart cities are only in a small number of cities and some regions. These smart cities connect vehicles all over the world to a central network that tracks their locations in real time. These kinds of networks get terabytes of data from a lot of different places, like traffic lights and road sensors. In some places in 2050, there will be 3 smart cities. Smart cities are only in a small number of cities and some regions. These smart cities connect vehicles all over the world to a central network that tracks their locations in real time. These kinds of networks get terabytes of data from a lot of different sources, like road sensors, traffic lights, and so on. This data includes things like the number of cars on the roads, traffic jams, weather patterns, the status of emergency services, and more. Autonomous vehicles that are part of these networks are always talking to each other and coordinating with each other to make the flow of traffic in these cities as smooth as possible. At the set time, virtual reality devices can also be used to control self-driving cars from a distance. 3. Brain-computer. Brain-computer interfaces have gotten a lot better since 2050. Brain-computer interfaces have come a long way since the movies from 2030, and they can be used for most everyday tasks. Headbands and wristbands with sensors that don't get in the way have become the most popular way for mainstream brands to connect to computers. Most virtual reality headsets, like expensive VR helmets that let you fully immerse yourself in VR, come with these interfaces as standard accessories. Some brands of computer interfaces can even be fully implanted for medical and military uses. Brain-computer interfaces can now send and receive information both ways. These advanced neural interfaces send waves to the brain to send information to the user. The images and experiences created by these devices are almost identical to reality, and they are different for each user because they depend on the structure of the brain. People can use brand computer interfaces to control objects in video games and virtual environments, with a high level of accuracy for fun. For example, this feature is very useful in the latest Star Wars game where you can play as both Jedi and Sith. Also, these gadgets make it possible for people in virtual reality games and experiences to talk to each other using simple thoughts. 4. Bionic eyes. In 2050, bionic eyes are at their best. Artificial retinas and other devices that help people see can be as good as a real human eye. They have electrode arrays with hundreds of megapixels and full color, and they can also connect to the internet wirelessly. This is a big step up from the early devices that only showed the world in black and white and with a lot of pixels. Some versions of these implants not only help many people who are blind see again, but they also have extra features. Some of these improvements are built-in cameras, augmented reality through Wi-Fi, night vision, thermal vision, the ability to zoom, and so on. When someone is using one of these devices, you can talk to them wirelessly by putting text on top of what they see. Spy agencies, the military, and well-known people all use these improved devices all the time. But they are getting to be cheap enough for the general public to buy. Now that computerized vision is getting better, healthy adults are tempted to use it. Some government and business sources say that these gadgets could reveal a lot of government and business scandals. 5. 2 space elevators. In 2050 there are now 2 space elevators, and they are the biggest engineering projects that have ever been done. More than 30 years ago, China and Abayashi Corp., a global construction company based in Tokyo, Japan, agreed to build their own space elevators. Now, that dream has come true. These space elevators are ways to get from the surface of the Earth to space. Each one has a cable that is anchored to the Earth and goes into space. This makes it possible for an elevator to move along the cable directly into orbit without using big rockets. They are near the Earth's equator, and the cables are kept taut by the forces of gravity and outward centrifugal force. Carbon nanotubes, which are light and hundreds of times stronger than steel, are used to make the cables. Institutions often use these space elevators to send things into space and bring things back to Earth. They can also take astronauts and tourists to space stations in low-orbit space. Building the space elevator cost almost $10 billion. But after moving just a few loads, they saved enough to pay back this money. This is because it costs less than 1% as much to move cargo with space elevators as it does with rockets. 6. VR glasses are taking the place of phones. Virtual reality headsets now have 16K resolution and have shrunk so much that they look like goggles or glasses. They also have different ways to show what's on the screen. The following are some of these display modes. In the augmented reality mode, the lenses can be made see-through so that holograms can be seen. In the mixed reality mode, the lenses can also be clear, so you can see virtual objects that look very real in the real world. The glasses seem to follow the laws of physics, and when you're in virtual reality mode, a thin layer of silver covers the glasses so you can be fully immersed in the virtual world. In the augmented and mixed reality modes, you can look at a smart stream where you can use your brain activity to control multiple apps and files. VR glasses are thought to be the next step after smartphones because they have these features, but many people still prefer smartphones. In mixed reality and virtual reality, another area that is slowly becoming more popular is contact lenses. 7. Human presence on Mars. In 2050, there are always people living on Mars. On Mars, there is a team of scientists and robotics engineers who are there all the time. A lot of this work is being done by SpaceX, and the first tourists have also arrived. Autonomous robotic mining systems needed to change in important ways. Before the first people could set foot on Mars, there had to be a lot of progress in autonomous robotic mining systems. A lot of this work is being done by SpaceX, and the first civilian tourists have already arrived. Autonomous robots can also pull the hydrogen out of the water to make fuel based on hydrogen, and satellites with solar panels are in orbit. Mars also gives power to the base there. Soon, more buildings will be added to this base to provide more energy for making food, recycling systems, mining equipment, and other tools. Scientists will be able to travel hundreds of miles with the help of more advanced long-term bases that can hold more people, tourists, and business interests. The habitat modules are built partly underground, which helps protect them from noise and UV rays. Nanotechnology-based materials that absorb radiation are also used in spacesuits and on the outside of vehicles. These same materials also block dust particles, so they can protect people for a long time from the environment outside of Mars. Profitable because it sells intellectual property rights to Earth and mines valuable metals on Mars. It also mines asteroids in a belt between Mars and Jupiter. Space mining is an important thing to think about because corporations can make trillions of dollars from it. 8. Augmented and mixed reality is everywhere. Entire cities have been turned into augmented reality zones that can be experienced with augmented reality glasses lenses, or other devices. Augmented reality overlays that are specific to a place are made by companies and individuals. Cities are full of different kinds of information, which can be sorted out as needed with the help of augmented reality apps, price tags, and stores. It's also common to use augmented reality to find your way from one place to another, get reviews of businesses near you, and watch 3D animations and videos of important events that happened at certain places in the past. 9. Hyperloop tunnels are enabling faster international travel. The idea behind the Hyperloop is that passenger pods would move through pressurized tubes using electric propulsion and magnetic levitation. This would move cargo much faster than before. With this method, Hyperloop pods can go between 600 and 700 miles per hour. They also cut greenhouse gas emissions from transportation by 90% and, because they save time, bring in more than $1 trillion every year in economic benefits. By the early 2030s, more than a dozen Hyperloop tunnels in the United States were finished. Now that tunnels have been built, people can move quickly between different countries. The tourism business grew quickly after this happened. This change is also making it hard for airlines and trains to make money. But the widespread use of supersonic planes for long-distance travel, starting in the early 2030s, will lessen the effects of this change. 10. Video games are becoming increasingly realistic. In 2050, video games are getting more and more realistic as game engines and software for building worlds get better and faster. Shops, offices, and most other types of interiors can be fully explored. Similarly, a whole forest can now be shown with sub-millimeter accuracy, with unique and random details like leaf marks and insect bites. In video games, non-playable characters can start and keep up natural, nuanced, and never-ending conversations. This is because cloud-based language models and deep learning algorithms are much more advanced than the GPT-3 model from the early 2020s. Advanced character builders make it easy to create hundreds of unique non-playable characters at once, each with their own personality and story. Generative adversarial networks can make almost an infinite number of different faces, hairstyles, body shapes, and types of clothing for each physical trait. This is possible because these neural networks are fed a lot of information about what they see. This technique also makes characters' movements, facial expressions, and actions more natural and true to life. At this point, character animations aren't 100% realistic, but they're getting very close. Also, more and more video games are being made in real places. 11. AI can outperform humans in most occupations. In most jobs, artificial intelligence will be better than humans by 2050. AI software can do a better job than humans at making company reports, researching the market, and doing most administrative tasks. In some situations, they can also write screenplays, music, novels, and do other things. AI robots can do jobs like security guards, forklift drivers, chefs, and warehouse pickers better than people can. AI has even taken over most of the work of human resources departments in a lot of companies. In these businesses, they use artificial. Some companies even use AI to lay off workers in the metaverse. This takes away almost all of the human parts of these life-changing situations. Other parts of a company have also changed for good, like finance, legal, sales, marketing, and customer service. People who make artificial intelligence and do jobs that require a lot of creativity, empathy, and dexterity are well connected. This is a trend that will only get worse as the century winds down. So, that's it for today. If you still have questions, please leave a comment below and our team will do its best to address them as quickly as possible. You may get all the latest information by pressing the bell icon and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.